What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Knicks Recap Podcast. I'm your host, Troy, and you could be anywhere in the world this afternoon, but you chose to be here with me, and I really do appreciate that. Now, before we get started, guys, like we always do, I just got to say, today is my birthday. Now, I'm not going to tell you how old I am or anything like that, at least not yet. Maybe toward the end of the show, I might. But I just wanted to say today is my birthday. So if you are on the stream today or you are in the chat, please go ahead and give me a happy birthday. Wish me a happy birthday. That would be great to see. I always appreciate the love. And thank you guys for joining the stream today. I see you, Knicks chat. I see you, Knicks Nation. I appreciate you guys. But even on my birthday, you know there are Knicks content and Knicks news to cover, and we are going to break it all down. We're going to talk about OG Anunoby and potentially him playing some minutes at the center position. We're going to be talking about the Knicks and what they're doing with that backup center situation. We're going to take a look at the final roster spot, what the Knicks are using that for. Julius Randle and this insane trade that could send him to Houston. We're going to take a look at that. We're going to take another look at the MVP race, OG Anunoby and his contract, and if there are any injury protections built into his contract. So like I said, guys, a lot of content to cover today. So please bear with me as we go through it all. But starting off today's first topic has to be with OG Anunoby. Now, as we all know, headed into next season, Mitchell Robinson and his status is on a different level right now because we don't know where he's going to end up. Mitchell Robinson could start the season for the Knicks, or he could end up missing some time. If that happens, the Knicks are going to have to figure out what they're going to do with that roster. They're going to either have to make another move with their MLE, sign another player to this team, and that player will play some minutes while Mitchell Robinson's out, or they could do something else. They could get creative. And one way to do that is by playing OG Anunoby at the center position. And according to Fred Katz of The Athletic, Tom Thibodeau, before OG Anunoby went down last season, was actually thinking about potentially having OG play some minutes at the center spot. We're going to break down these latest reports today and so much more. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button now. And make sure you have notifications turned on so you don't miss a second of the new content. And now, let's get started. The Knicks want OG Anunoby to play minutes at the center position. Yes, you heard me right. The Knicks potentially want Anunoby to help them play some small ball when they play next season. Now, again, this might be dependent on matchup. It might be dependent on injury, if Mitchell Robinson's available or not, if the Knicks even utilize the MLE or not. Maybe they utilize Preston Achiuwa, Jericho Sims, and then for maybe 3 or 4 minutes a quarter, they utilize Anunoby and a combination of him and Randle at the 5 spot. If they do that, you might have to understand why, because now we finally have the roster where Tom Thibodeau might trust where he can do that, because you don't need as much rim protection when you have the best wing duo in the entire league on defense in Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. But before I give my take on this entire situation, let's hear what Fred Katz has to say as he covered this in his recent article. Shout out to Fred Katz of The Athletic. He gives us the following information. The current roster construction could demand that the Knicks go small, meaning that Randle or Anunoby would play the 5. Playing only Robinson and Achiuwa at center would make it difficult for Josh Hart and Donte DiVincenzo to reach 25 minutes. So there is a little bit of a backstory here. Maybe the reason why the Knicks want to go small is because they want to open up the minutes for other players. If the Knicks run out that same 9-man rotation, they don't make any changes, Josh Hart and Donte DiVincenzo might play 20-plus minutes each. That's it. If you want to see them play 25 minutes or 30 minutes, changes are going to have to be made. A small ball lineup could do that, and Anunoby could be the star player there. And it's not only my words here. Fred Katz actually remembers when Tom Thibodeau said last season, this is something he wanted to do and implement. You know, OG Anunoby playing the 5. Shout out to Fred Katz for keeping it going here. According to Katz, Achiuwa is smaller than your conventional center. Enough so that there were moments when Thibodeau relied on Anunoby to defend 5s while Achiuwa was on the court with him. And that brings us to a breadcrumb Tom Thibodeau dropped before last season ended. Anunoby got hurt not long after the Knicks acquired him this past winter. First was the elbow, then the elbow surgery, then the return, then the re-injury of the elbow, then another return, and then the hamstring that essentially ended his season. Thibodeau said that had Anunoby not jostled in and out of the lineup, the coach would have tried to have him in more situations where he could defend centers. Now that is a major difference for me, especially for me watching Tom Thibodeau over all these years. He's had a chance to go small time and time again, but he never has. But maybe he never has because he's never had a player like Anunoby on his team. Anunoby legitimately is the only player on this Knicks roster that can guard 1 through 5. Tom Thibodeau knows that. He's seen that. And when he guards centers, he does a very good job on them. I'm not saying it's an excellent job each and every time, but way better than you would expect for a player his size, a player his strength. That actually speaks volumes about how strong he is to keep defenders that are centers in front of him, keep them away from the rim, push them back. You have to be strong to do that. So shout out to OG Anunoby for having more strength than a lot of people are actually talking about here. Katz continues this article here by stating, Anunoby isn't the only player who can encourage an adjustment. Bridges' presence could do so as well. A great way to protect against missing rim protection is to not allow anyone to get to the hoop at all. These are not the circumstances of 2 years ago when Tom Thibodeau resisted to do so because he had Julius Randle and Obi Toppin in the front court. That would have counted as going small, but also would have lacked the defense to make it viable. That's the part there. That's the part we all have to remember. That's the most important thing. Defense. He couldn't go small when he had Obi Toppin because the defense would have went to the floor and it would have made sense. He tried it a couple of times and he was disgusted at what he saw. I say disgusted because we never saw it again. This time around, he has a roster more in line to play his set of style, even though you don't have the rim protection. That penetration from going inside the paint from that defense is out of this world. When you have defenders like Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby on the lineup and you can't get into the paint, it makes it less likely that you have to rely on that rim protection, even though you need it, because, of course, over the course of a 48-minute game, somebody's going to get through the defense and somebody's going to have to go to the line, and that's going to happen. So you have to make sure you have rim protection available. However, if you have a good defense starting out, that rim protection doesn't have to be as significant. And I think that's what Fred Katz is stating here. But even if it doesn't have to be significant, you still want defense played at that position. So who do you need then? You need a player like OG Anunoby. The only thing I have an issue with is OG going to play the center position on offense as well too in this 2 to 4 minute gap each and every quarter? Because if he is, I don't know about that. I don't know how Anunoby's going to thrive on that end against other centers. He might have a harder time doing that, playing his game. I would prefer, if they did this, that they switched between Randle and Anunoby. Anunoby plays defense on centers, and then on offense, we have to deal with bully ball Randle. And bully ball Randle down low playing center could take on anybody, at least for 4 minutes a quarter. I don't mind that. And if I'm freeing up minutes to give to Josh Hart, Dante DiVincenzo, Miles McBride, all these other players on the bench, I'm going to do that because that is the most important thing to me right now. And I think it's important to the Knicks. That's why we're talking about Anunoby potentially playing the center position, because they know they need to be creative with Mitchell Robinson. They know they need to be creative right now with Mitchell Robinson potentially missing time and potentially not even starting the season. You have to do something. In my opinion, this is part of the plan. Having the creativity to say, well, if Robinson's not going to be there and I'm only going to have Precious Achiuwa, I'm only going to have Jericho Sims, then I'm going to need to put a lineup out there that makes sense, that can protect this roster until Mitchell Robinson's healthy enough to come back. And if that means I have to play OG Anunoby at the center a few minutes to do so, then I'm going to do it. So I think we're going to see it. The Knicks finally have the roster for Thibs to trust that. My only issue is if you play a player out of position like that, what's going to happen to them? Could you risk injury to them? I say that because we did it last year, right? And we saw what happened. Injuries piled up, and I don't want to see that this year. We are too good of a team. We have too good of a roster to go through that again. So I do not want to do that. But I want to respect the chat. I see we have some super chats here, so I want to go to that real quick. Shout out to you. Tony Riviera says, we are going to get hurt. We're gonna hurt OG, I think is what he said. We are going to get OG hurt, is what Tony is stating here. And Tony, listen, man, if we play OG Anunoby at that position, if we play him like that, there's a good chance he could get hurt because we're playing him out of position against bigger, stronger guys. And even though he can hold the position down, the question is, should he? Are we forced to do that? That's going to be the question headed into next season. Tony, I also want to read out your other super chat. You can't see it on screen, ladies and gentlemen, but let me read it out to you guys. He states, happy birthday, Troy. It's a great Knicks day. Salute. Hey, Tony, I appreciate you, my brother. I appreciate you giving me that love and that respect, that admiration. It really does mean a lot. And all of the support I got, whether you're on social media, in the comments of the videos today, in the comments of the chat today, I see it all. I appreciate it all. And the fact that you guys could be anywhere today, but you're choosing to listen to this Knicks content and obviously support me on my birthday, it really means a lot. Shout out to you guys. Shout out to you, Tony, for the super chats. But let's keep it going here. Appreciate you guys in the comments for the birthday wishes. But like I was saying with OG Anunoby, and to Tony's point there, you play OG Anunoby at a position that even though he can play it, he probably shouldn't. There's a good chance he gets hurt. There's a good chance he gets injured. And I don't want to see that. OG Anunoby, whether you like it or not, is probably one of the main pieces on this team that will make or break us going to the NBA Finals. Because if Anunoby's not available for a if Anunoby is not available for a significant period of time, the Knicks are going to struggle. We're not going to be able to make it up. There's no way to do that because there's no one on this roster, no one that can make up Anunoby, his ability, and his impact. If he goes down, the Knicks will have to be creative, of course, but nobody's going to replace that. And that's why I hope the Knicks don't have to play Anunoby at the center position. But here's my pushback to that, guys, and maybe you guys will agree as well, too. Tom Thibodeau, if he has a fully healthy roster and he's playing 9 out, maybe at most 10, are we seeing a small ball lineup? Because I don't think we're going to see a small ball lineup in that situation. Tom Thibodeau would play a lineup that's small ball only if he was forced to. If Thibodeau's not forced to play that lineup, then why would he? What position or team would the Knicks have to be in for a small ball lineup to make sense? Because I would think the only way that would make sense is if the Knicks are dealing with injuries, somebody's out for the night, or something like that. Somebody's in foul trouble, whatever the case may be. That's when you go small because you have to be creative in that situation. I can see Thibodeau doing that, but I can't see Tom Thibodeau voluntarily saying, you know what, I'm healthy, let me go small, because he's never done it before. Maybe things change because, again, Fred Katz did mention he has the roster right now that he can trust to do that. But Tom Thibodeau, his mindset, his defensive scheme that he likes out there, he normally likes that traditional center out there, somebody that's blocking shots and rebounding the ball a lot. If Randle's playing that position or OG Anunoby's playing that position, then you're limiting them in terms of their game because you're asking them to do something that normally they wouldn't do. And that's exactly how injuries happen, when you do something you're not supposed to do. So in my opinion, OG Anunoby playing the 5, I'm not against it, especially if it's in short bursts, but only if we need to. If we don't need to, there's no reason to do that. And if I know our head coach in Tom Thibodeau, he's not going to do that unless he's forced to. But I appreciate the information here from Fred Katz because it does help give us some insight, at least in the fact that he believes that Tom Thibodeau would go to his bench a lot more and utilize a small ball lineup to support adding more minutes to some of these guys. And maybe that happens. But you know what? I'll have to see it to believe it come the regular season, come the preseason even. But we're going to get there. Something else that came out today, because the number one thing, probably the most asked question that I get asked on a daily basis is, Troy, what are the Knicks doing with the backup center position? Are they going to utilize the MLE? Are they going to trade for somebody at some point in time at the trade deadline to get a backup center on this team, on this roster? Or potentially, are they going to try to trade Mitchell Robinson for a starting position center? Those are all the questions that come out. Well, thankfully, Ian Begley recently dropped his mailbag today, and he gave us the following information about the Knicks and what they're planning to do with that backup center position. So shout out to Ian Begley for the following information. The question that was asked to him was, Ian, any news on the backup center situation? And his following response was the answer here. The only new information I have here is that as of late last month, the Knicks were at the very least exploring the market for a veteran center. If you're following the Knicks recap, we also covered that report when he reported it a few weeks ago. Earlier this offseason, the Knicks had some interest in signing Bruno Fernando, but Fernando signed a non-guaranteed, Fernando signed a non-guaranteed deal with the Toronto Raptors in early August. As noted last month, the Knicks also made an offer to Omer Yurtseven early in free agency. Yurtseven didn't give the offer strong consideration and last week agreed to terms with Europe's club Panathinaikos, which I believe is a Greece team. The Knicks still have access to the taxpayer mid-level exception to use in free agency, but I don't see any available free agents who would command a $5 million per year. Now, on this channel, we did cover it, and we did mention that, in my opinion, one of the players the Knicks can target is Bismack Biyombo. He would fit that $5 million level there. The only question is, would the Knicks want to go after him? To Ian Begley's point here, maybe the Knicks know he's available and are not targeting him because they don't want to go after him. Maybe they want to wait. They want to utilize that MLE maybe at the buyout when there's a buyout market and potential players find their way there. There's a lot of options for the Knicks right now. But Begley continues here by stating one of the fans asked him about the possibility of upgrading the backup spot via a trade. But trade rules for teams above the first apron are prohibitive. But I think the Knicks will still continue to explore every option until they find a backup or it becomes clear that they don't need one because the current centers are thriving. Huckaporty is a rookie. Sure, the Knicks can play Randle at the center in the second unit, but does that give them enough depth at that position? That remains the open question as we get closer to training camp. And see, that's the main thing right there, the main question that we have. Do we have enough depth at center position right now? If we head into the season right now with our current roster and all things being the same, potentially Mitchell Robinson missing the start of the season, are we okay at that position? The answer is no. That's why Ian Begley is telling you the Knicks continue to look at options to upgrade at the backup center position. It's obvious they're likely going to do it at the trade deadline, but you never know what they're going to do. Maybe they utilize another type of player at the trade deadline, get another player on this team, and then utilize the MLE for a buyout market player that could play center on this team. The Knicks have a number of options they can go to. And according to Ian Begley here, they're not really in a rush to do anything. They might go into training camp with 14 players on this team and then add another player to this roster based on how that player does during camp. So maybe they're not signed yet, but they could be offered a standard NBA deal depending on how they do in camp. Absolutely, that could happen. I can't wait to see what happens in camp. But Ian Begley giving us this update here hopefully gives us all the latest updates on the backup center situation and where the Knicks stand. And I think it's clear. The Knicks don't like where they are, but they're going to move forward with the current roster that they have until a player that they like becomes available. And once that happens, they're going to do everything in their power to try to get that player on this team. Hopefully that happens sooner rather than later, because I would rather have that insurance policy on the team before we start the season. Because Mitchell Robinson and his injury history is concerning me right now. The fact that he could miss the season opener is concerning me right now. The fact that the Knicks are taking a cautious approach with his rehab, it's concerning me right now because I don't know when he's going to be available. And I don't care what you want to say. A question mark over your starting center before you enter the season is always going to worry anybody, especially if you're a diehard fan of the team. But let's keep it going here. I see a lot of you guys in the chat. I want to make sure I get to your comments today. So let's get that going. I want to make sure we get that here. And before we get to the comments, we had a great show on the playback this past Wednesday. We did a Knicks live version of that with my guy, Eddie Presti. If you guys haven't noticed yet, we're on the playback.tv already. The channel is up and live. If you want to join us for watch-alongs and anything like that, you have to make sure you are subscribed to this particular channel. And once you are, you're going to be able to watch the game along with me. You're going to be able to see my reactions in live time. You're going to be able to tell me, Troy, why are you looking like that? Why are you acting like that? Why are you reacting that crazy? Oh my goodness, this is exactly how you are in real life. Yes, you're going to be able to see that if you join the playback. And don't worry, even if you don't, because you can't for whatever the reason may be, we're going to be streaming those watch-alongs all over to the app X, to YouTube, everywhere. The only catch is if you want to come up as a speaker during those shows, if you want to actually see the game as I'm watching it, the only place you're going to be able to do that is on the playback.tv room. So I urge everybody, if you're a subscriber and a member of this channel, please join the Knicks playback.tv channel so you can become a member there too and watch all the live watch-alongs with me. I appreciate that. Let's keep it going here. Clearing my throat a little bit. Let's see what you guys have to say in the chat. Before I do, I'm going to shout out the merch a little bit. Go get your merch today on the Knicks Recap Spread Shop store and drink a little bit of whatever this is. It is my birthday, so don't blame me for whatever's in this cup. And don't blame me for however I act as the show progresses. But I appreciate everybody watching today. All right, we have BDP, my guy Paulie, who says, happy birthday. Shout out to you, my guy. Thank you so much. I really appreciate that. He says, bro, turn up. I appreciate that, my brother. Tony Riviera says, we need Thibs to expand the lineup. We do. We do. Because if Thibodeau doesn't expand the lineup, then our starters are going to suffer for it. I said it in a video that's going to come out during the weekend. I just shot it before I did the live. It's about the minutes distribution. And I said, the only way to make sure everybody gets enough minutes is to reduce the starters' minutes. That means if the starters are going to play 35 minutes, have all of them play 31 minutes. That way, you keep the starters healthy going into the postseason. You give everybody more minutes. Everybody's happy. And that is called sacrifice. But I appreciate that. Let's see. Fabian Williams says, put the link in the chat. For the playback link is actually in the description of this live, Fabian. So if you want to join it, all you got to do is go to the description of this live, click on that link, and you can join right away. Appreciate you asking that, my brother. Killer Dog says, happy birthday. Or born day, I should say. I appreciate that. Thank you, my brother. New Lord says, just rewatched Achua at center during the 76ers playoffs. He's a solid center. He is, but the problem is he going to be solid over the course of maybe 40 games or 35 games? Because remember, we're going to need this backup to play significant minutes and maybe even starter minutes if Mitchell Robinson goes down. Look at what we're starting talking about right now. Mitchell Robinson may not be available to start the season. And if we're not going to have him available to start the season, then who am I looking at then? I'm just looking at who? I'm looking at Achua and Sims as the only players I have at center. That's why they're talking about right now potentially playing Randle at the 5 or OG at the 5, because we have to talk about it. Because if we don't, if anything happens to Mitch, if he's out for an extended period of time, if Jericho can't go, if Precious Achua is getting cooked on that end for the center position, we're going to have to make a change. And one of the only ways to do that potentially is going to have to move OG to that center spot. But I caution the Knicks to do that, because if you do it, you might open him up to injuries he may not have had if he didn't have to play those minutes. So it's something worth considering and talking about. Let's keep it going here, guys. Let's see the comments we got. Let's see. Electric says, oh, dope. Happy B-Day. I appreciate you. Thank you, my brother. Roberto says, happy birthday and let's go Knicks. Let's go Knicks. You guys know how happy I am right now, how excited I am. We are in September, only a couple of weeks away from Media Day. And then Media Day follows practice. Practice follows preseason. We're this close. We're this close for being back. I cannot wait. It's what I've been waiting for each and every single week. I'm doing videos. I'm doing content. I'm doing material for you guys. And I'm doing it in anticipation before I start talking about exactly what I want to talk about. Before you see the level go from 5 to 10. Before you see me go as hype as you've ever seen. If anybody you've known believed in this team the most, one of those people has to be me. I've been waiting for this moment. Best believe I am going to turn up and go off as soon as that first preseason game is played. Best believe that. I can't wait, guys. Let's keep it going. Lex the Destroyer, I appreciate the emojis. Cody says, happy birthday. I appreciate that. Samir says, happy birthday. James Lee says, stop the ads, my brother. Listen, my guy, I don't control the ads. The ads are controlled by YouTube. When you do well on this type of platform, YouTube automatically targets your videos and they put ads in there. But you know what I do with my videos? Because as a creator, I do have the choice. I make the choice balanced. So that way, I don't control when you see the ads and I make sure it's not aggressive so you're seeing it every minute or two like some other streams do. So I appreciate that. And James, even on my birthday, you're finding something to hate on. James, don't get yourself a quick timeout. It's a very early stream right now. We have a lot of time to go. You want an early timeout? He says the Nets are better. You should profit over this insanity about the Knicks being good. Your second round exits. Okay, James, I don't need this hostility on my birthday. I don't need it. And you know what? I'm not going to argue with you, James. I'm not going to argue with you. I'm not going to argue with the Nets fan. By the way, the 76ers are taking over your home turf in New Jersey. You might want to do something about that. You might want to do something about the Sixers taking over. You're going to be put in a timeout. Don't worry, it's 5 minutes. I'm not going to go aggressive. It's 5 minutes. But what happened to those messages, though? They all disappeared. What happened to them, James? They were here 1 minute, gone the next. James? Oh, no, the messages went away. I'm sorry. Not really sorry at all. James, think about what you did, okay? You think about what you did, and then when you come back to the stream, you treat me with more respect. And also, talking reality here, okay? We're talking about the Knicks as championship contenders. Ain't nobody even have a prayer about the Brooklyn Nets. Here's a story for you guys before you get back to the live stream. You know the Gotham app, the live Gotham app that's come out where, Yes and MSG have combined, right? Do you know the ads for that? Majority of ads for that are the Yankees and the Knicks. And Brooklyn had maybe a picture and a slideshow. And I don't even know who they advertised in that image. So you can say what you want to say about this or that. There's no question. You know why I don't even talk about the Nets as much anymore? They're irrelevant to talk about. The Knicks are in a so much better place. We run New York to the point where nobody even cares about anything else besides orange and blue skies, baby. And that's all it's about. So you can hate. You can come into a majority of a Knicks fan base stream and try to hate, but you already know what it is. Knicks run this town tonight, today, and forever. Shout out to you, though, James. I appreciate the love in your unique way. Let's keep it going. Let's keep it going here. I'm just reading the comments. You guys are hilarious. Steven says the Nets are trash. Basura! They are. Excuse me. Did I scream that? I didn't mean to scream that. No, I didn't mean, actually, I meant to scream it, yeah. Basura! They trash. Agreed. Pete says, thanks for Bridges, James. I agree. Every good show needs an antagonist or two, says Bodega Wi-Fi. You're right. Yeah, you're right. We do need an antagonist. Again, I give him a 5-minute timeout. If he does it again, though, he's getting 10 minutes. Just saying. Timeouts only go up. Paul says, happy birthday, bro. Hope you have a great one. I appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much, my brothers. And thank you so much to the chat. I really do appreciate that. We're going to go to the chat again later on in the show. But before we go to the rest of the chat, I want to continue with some of the other topics we have for today's show. But guys, again, thank you so much for the love, the support, and the birthday wishes. If whether I called you out or I shouted you out, I definitely saw your message. And I'm telling you now, it means a lot to me. And it really hit me right here. So thank you, guys. And of course, Tony, he always comes through with the super chats, and I got to give him some love before we go to the next topic. Tony says, with his super chat for $2, says, Troy birthday, drinking, let's go. And that's exactly what it is. And for you, my guy, I'm going to have that drink. Not going to tell you what's in this cup. Okay. But that's for you, Tony. Thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much for the love. I really do appreciate that. And I appreciate each and every one of you guys joining this live stream today, getting your Knicks news, wishing me a happy birthday, and showing up in your own way to support. But speaking about that Knicks news, I want to move on to our next topic here, because when we talk about trades, as we were just talking about potentially for the Knicks to upgrade the backup center position, always and forever, there will be an NBA insider, an NBA analyst, somebody that covers this league that throws out there a trade proposal or links Randle to an insane trade that I don't think any team would ever do. But of course, it comes out. And that's exactly what happened recently. An NBA insider linked Julius Randle to an insane trade with the Houston Rockets. Now, first off, I wouldn't want the Knicks to trade Julius Randle to the Rockets. The Rockets have no one that I would want to trade Randle for right now. Randle is the better player, and Randle is the better fit right now for this Knicks team. Randle's exactly what we need for this Knicks roster. So I don't know why executives and NBA analysts and NBA insiders constantly continue to try to include Randle in a deal to move him for another team. And when they do it for a guy like Jabari Smith. What are we talking about here? Let's go through this recent report here from Greg Schwartz of Bleacher Report and what he says about Julius Randle and potentially the Knicks going after him. According to Bleacher Report's Greg Schwartz, he states the Houston Rockets are in need of a boost that will get them back among the best teams in the Western Conference. They have been relying on their youth to get them back to the top, but they have enough pieces to be able to trade some of them for an established all-star. According to Bleacher Report writer Greg Schwartz, one player they could look to acquire is the New York Knicks forward, Julius Randle. Another Texas native, Randle would be an upgrade over Jabari Smith Jr. in the starting forward spot, and is a veteran that the Rockets could run their offense through. A front court of Randle and Sengun may not be the best defensively, but both are strong enough passers, rebounders, and versatile scorers that head coach Ime Udoka could expand his offensive playbook with those two in the lineup. Randle turns 30 in November and is seeking a long-term deal, so that's why the Knicks could look to trade him. Jabari Smith Jr. would be the starter for a trade package, but the Knicks likely would also want Sengun in any deal as well to fulfill their center problems. That would give the Rockets the green light to give Jalen Green a new contract along with Julius Randle, while the Knicks would roll with the front court of Smith and Sengun in the front, while the Knicks would roll with Smith and Sengun in the front court. I think that's what he's saying there. But either way, that's the current information that we have here from NBA insider Greg Schwartz of Bleacher Report regarding this insane trade scenario where the Knicks would trade Julius Randle to the Rockets, and in return, they would likely get Jabari Smith Jr. or some trade package that included that player. If that was the trade, if that trade package is on the table, and I don't care how many first-round picks the Rockets are attaching here, because you best believe the Knicks are not giving up any first-round picks in this package. I'm not giving up one, not even a protected pick, because Randle is better. And when you have the better player, you don't give up assets, you receive them. So let's just start out right there. I'm not giving up any first-round picks. If you want to get Julius Randle and you want to trade for him, you can start giving me maybe 4 first-round picks. I'll start the conversation there. 4 first-round picks, because that's Julius Randle's worth. Look at his numbers. Look at his style of play. 3-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA. Don't get disrespectful. Don't get disrespectful. You think that trade package for Jabari Smith would be good enough for Randle? Never in your life. Never. It wouldn't be good enough. The Rockets have nothing to offer the Knicks for me to be comfortable to give Julius Randle to them. The only way they could try to sweeten that pot to make it make more sense for me is they would have to include, I don't know how many first-round picks. So many first-round picks that it would be crazy for me to say no to it. That's the level of player Randle is, and that's all it would take for me to trade him. But that's the only thing it would trade. That's the only thing it would take. But get this, no team is ever going to do that because the Knicks value Julius Randle likely more than any other team does, especially right now. Randle has not proven anything being injured. He needs to show that the injury is not doing anything to his game. He needs to show that in the postseason, he can show up, show out, and become one of the forces on this Knicks team that we've always wanted him to be. But those are factors that are going to go into whether he gets paid, whether he gets traded, how many picks a certain team may want to give up in a trade for him. But that's what we're talking about here. But let me point this out and make it clear. We can talk about this forever. The Knicks are not looking to trade Julius Randle right now. That has been proven clear and been made clear and clarified time and time again. They're not looking for one. They're not entertaining one. They're not on the phone saying, hey, what would you give me for Julius Randle? No, they're not doing that because they know what we all know. At least most of us know. Randle on this team and at least seeing it for 1 year. That's the best course of action. You want to trade Randle or potentially have that narrative going into this season with everything, all the hopes and dreams we have for this season already? We're trying to win a championship. Julius Randle is a core piece to that. He's the second option on offense behind Jalen Brunson. Some nights he might be the third. Get that right. Third option bully ball Julius Randle in the paint. Mind-boggling. And some nights that's going to happen because sacrifice is what you need to get the most out of this team. Randle already knows that, and I'm not trading anybody else, especially from the core of this team, until I see it at least once. You're going to rob me the opportunity of seeing Randle, Brunson, OG, Mikal, and Mitchell Robinson give it a try for one full season? No. I want to watch that for one entire season. See what these guys can do. Because I think when healthy, that squad, who's beating that squad when healthy? I don't think anybody. They're running through the league, ladies and gentlemen. You double team Brunson, Randle's open. You triple team Randle, Brunson, your wings are open. Somebody's going into the rim to penetrate right behind Randle. What are you doing? Who are you stopping? No one. And Randle will trust the pass because we have everybody on the court that he trusts. Jalen, Mikal, OG, sometimes Dante or Josh. And all of them can shoot the three at an extraordinary clip, including Josh Hart. Have we forgotten the playoffs? I haven't. And I think the playoff performance is going to go into his regular season performance because he has been working on that three-point shot during the offseason. The Knicks have a band of dogs on this team, and they all support each other in the right way. Julius Randle, in a major way, was somebody that we missed in the Indiana series, and now that we're getting him back, everybody's going to understand why he was a force to deal with, why the Knicks were a force to deal with in January, and why that wasn't a delusion, why it wasn't a hallucination. We're going to show you that that month of January is going to be a constant when we head into next season. I'm tired of people discrediting what Randle did and the way he played in January, like those games don't exist. Newsflash, they exist. And spoiler alert, he played within the flow of the offense, and it looked beautiful, magical. You're telling me he won't do it again? I don't believe that. I believe Randle, more than any other year in his career, understands right now his role is to support whatever we're doing on that court on a night-to-night basis. If that means being the man this night, do it. That means being the third option, do it. And I don't think he's going to have a problem with it. Watch and see. Randle this year, contract year, monster year coming. Best believe that. I'll put everything on that because I honestly believe Randle, he's not going to be touched in terms of power forwards in this league coming this year. I promise you that. But another thing that I want to know about, because I've said it in a number of videos, I've been talking about it a lot. The mid-level exception. The Knicks have access to it. There's a number of things they could do with it. But I've been screaming from the rooftops, you need to utilize it now. We know you need to utilize it now. Mitchell Robinson's status dictates that you use it now. But maybe the Knicks don't want to do that. Maybe the Knicks want to hold on to it and see what else they can do with that final roster spot. And according to Ian Begley, they might utilize that final roster spot by giving it to somebody who earns it in camp. Let's break down these latest reports from Begley regarding the Knicks and what they plan to do with the final roster spot that they have access to. Excuse me there. Here we go. Here's the right slide. Shout out to Ian Bagley. He answered the following information. The question asked to him was, how will the Knicks use their remaining cap space and or their last roster spot? And his answer was the following. They could keep the spot open during training camp and give it to a player who impresses in camp or preseason. They currently have 14 players on a traditional NBA contract and 3 players on two-way deals. NBA teams can carry a maximum of 15 players on NBA contracts and 3 players on two-way deals during the regular season. In training camp, they can carry a maximum of 20 players. So the Knicks can see who excels in training camp and give the 15th spot to a player currently on a camp deal. So that means we already know we have players like potentially Okiki. We remember that. Okiki was signed to an Exhibit 10 or I believe 9 deal, essentially a training camp deal. Let's say if he shows out and he does everything he needs to do, the Knicks could potentially say, okay, I like what I see. We're going to turn his contract into a standardized deal and he can take that final roster spot. The Knicks could definitely do that and it wouldn't really hurt them as much. And they would still have access to the mid-level exception that they could utilize maybe at the buyout market toward February or March in the season. So that's something worth noting. But let's continue here and see what else Bagley has to say. According to Bagley, he states, it's worth noting here, people familiar with the matter said, excuse me, let me repeat that again because I messed up there. Worth noting here, people familiar with the matter said late last month that it was unlikely that the Knicks would use their 15th roster spot to sign backup guard Ryan Arcidiacono. Arcidiacono had spent parts of the past 2 seasons with the Knicks. Tom Thibodeau continuously praised Arcidiacono's professionalism and the way he impacted the team despite his limited minutes. But people familiar with the matter felt that it was unlikely that Arcidiacono would be back under the current Knicks roster. Things can change if the Knicks make a trade. But if they plan to sign Arcidiacono, a close friend of Jalen Brunson to the 15th roster spot, they would probably have done so already. So it looks like, at least as of right now, all the hopes and dreams that we all have had to seeing all of these Nova guys together, including Ryan Arcidiacono, it doesn't seem like that dream is going to happen. If anything, according to Ian Bagley, there's no room for Ryan on this roster. Now, while it does break my heart just a little bit, because selfishly, on Media Day, I would love to see all of those Nova guys together taking that photo. But I don't think that photo is worth whatever $1 million they would have to pay Ryan to be that bench player on this team. If anything, it does make more sense to give that roster spot to a player that earned it. And if that player earns it in in training camp, I can't hate on that. And I'm not going to hate on that. So the Knicks could do that. The Knicks could go into the season potentially, and they might be able to use that roster spot with the MLE at the February or March months. Because remember, after the trade deadline, there's a lot of players, they don't re-sign or they get bought out. And if that happens, they're remaining. They're out there. They're free agents. And if the Knicks want to be able to sign them, they're going to need the capital to do so. So if you don't utilize the MLE and you just utilize that 15th roster with a player that earns it in camp, that can go a long way for the Knicks and their future moves that they might want to do. Again, there are levels to this. There are steps to this, but the Knicks have multiple moves. It's just not trade for a center or you're done. They could trade for another significant player and then use the buyout to get another impactful center on this team. Leon Rose, this Knicks front office, what have they always done? They've managed to surprise us. They've managed to do things that we've never thought possible. And because of that, you can never rule out who's going to be the players on this Knicks team after the deadline and the buyout market is all said and done. But the Knicks are going to have an opportunity because they're going to have the money in hand. Because according to Bagley, there's nothing looking like they're going to utilize that MLE to get another player on this team. So that means somebody in training camp is going to have to earn it. Now, there's a lot of players that I would like to see earn it. But selfishly, Ariel Huckaporty, that's one of the guys that I would like to see his two-way contract turned into a significant standard NBA deal because Mitchell Robinson may not be available. Backups like Precious Achiuwa, he's going to be gone at the trade deadline. Jericho Sims, he's emergency rotational at best. If you give those minutes to Ariel Huckaporty because he earns it, make sure we're clear here. I'm not just saying give it to him because he's a rookie, give it to him because we just drafted him. He has to earn the minutes. But if Huckaporty earns those minutes, then absolutely, you give him that standardized deal, and then he becomes the backup to Mitchell Robinson. It's not ideal. It's not what I want, but it's the best of the solutions that we have right now, and potentially it can help the Knicks get to December 15th when they can trade Precious Achiuwa and all of these other players to get another backup center or maybe even a starting center at that point in time. But we have to get there. And the only way to get there is to remain as healthy as possible, give Mitchell Robinson time to heal, and when he's available, he can join this team. But those are the ways the Knicks can respond. Shout out to Ian Bagley for giving us all of these updates because it was something on my mind. I didn't know what the Knicks were going to do with that final roster spot. I was concerned headed into training camp without it being filled. But at least we now know why. The Knicks want to see somebody go get it. Somebody get very, very aggressive, be very impressive in training camp, take it, not just be given it, but go out there and take it and make sure you understand why they took it when they're added to this team. You got to love that mentality. For me, I can't wait to see who grabs that brass ring and gets that final roster spot. But before we go to any other comments and any other potential topics in this live stream today, I want to go to your topics and your comments today. So let's keep it going here. Let's go back to the chat. I see a lot of emojis, so I do appreciate that. Let me go ahead and drink from this cup again while you guys leave your comments. And I appreciate all the viewers that we have right here. If you guys haven't done so already, please subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, and of course, share this live stream with your friends of a friend of a friend. Let them know. We're talking to a Knicks fan right now on his birthday about the Knicks news of the latest going on right now, everything that the Knicks have going on, what they're doing, what they're about to do, all of these potential topics. So if you're a Knicks fan, you want to talk about those topics with me too, get on in here. Make sure you're joining the live. And of course, make sure you're joining me on the playback. Again, we are going to be live for watch-alongs. Not all season long, but for most Knicks games, we're going to be available on the watch-alongs. You're going to be able to find me on the playback.tv. You go there, you join that room, and you're able to automatically see those games with me in real time. I can invite you to be speakers if you want to be speakers, and you can talk about the game with me in real time. And when you're up there with me, that's going to be streamed all over to X, to YouTube, everywhere. So it's a good opportunity for anybody who wants to potentially speak with me about the game in real time. If you don't want to join those streams, you're gonna be able to see those, at least the playbacks of those streams on YouTube, on X. The only catch is you're not gonna see me reacting to the live game. You're gonna see me reacting, but you're not gonna see me reacting to really anything because you're not gonna be knowing what I'm watching and what time I'm watching it at. The only time you can get that type of replay is on the playback.tv. So please, guys, if you haven't done so already, do me a favor. It is my birthday, and the only thing I have a wish for today is to grow the brand a little bit more. And one way to do that is to increase people that I have on the playback.tv. So if you guys could, if you're watching, if you're a subscriber, if you're a member, please do me that solid. Go to the Knicks playback.tv channel. It's in the description of this stream. You go to the link, you click on it, you subscribe as a member, and that's it. It would really mean a lot to me. But let's keep it going here. Let's go to the chat and see what you guys have to say. G5 Wiz says, I'm not happy about Precious starting for the season openers. Top 10 games will speak volumes. I absolutely agree with you there. The top 10 games that we're going to have to deal with, it's going to be very important, guys. And I think those games are going to define us. It is important that we play our best level of basketball. But to do that, we're going to need to be healthy. That's why Mitchell Robinson going down hurts a little bit. Because during those first games, especially a Knicks team that is seen as a contender, everybody talking about them like they're a contender. If I'm an opposing team, I'm going to want to shut you down and make sure nobody's talking about you. That's why we need to be fully healthy when we go into the season. Again, Robinson has a lot of time left before we start the season to recover and come back for that first game. But it's not looking great in terms of him in rehab, trying to get past those particular hurdles and trying to come back and join this team. And we all know if you're not going to be available in training camp, it might be weeks before you're cleared for contact to even practice again and then to join this team. That's why the concerns are there. But thanks and shout out to you for the comment here. Let's keep it going here. Roger says 160 watching Troy and only 50 likes. Let's dunk the like button for Troy and show him some love on his birthday. Hey, Roger, I appreciate that. Yes, please, if you can, smash that like button. I really would appreciate that. I hope everybody on this stream today, whether you came to support me, whether you love the Knicks, whether you're a Knicks fan, whether you came here for Knicks news, you were given all of that and more, because that's what I tried to give you guys today. And don't worry, we still have a lot more information to cover. I promise you that. We're going to talk about OG Anunoby and his contract extension. Some people were asking me before, OG Anunoby, are there any injury protections built into his contract? I'm concerned because if he goes down, what happens? We're going to be able to answer that question. We're also going to look at Julius Randle and that player option. Is he going to accept that player option next summer, or is he going to go into unrestricted free agency and see if he can get a bigger deal? That's something worth talking about as well. We're going to be covering all of that. I'm very excited to do that with you guys. But first, back to the comments here. Even Best says, what's up, chat? Kev says, what up, recap? Happy birthday, bro. Many more and blessings. Thank you so much, brother. Salute to you. Thank you so much, Kev. Hugo says, happy birthday, my brother Troy, coming from a Georgia fan. Hey, my guy, Hugo. Thank you so much, my brother. I appreciate that. State of the Knicks says, happy born day, Troy. Many blessings. Thank you, my guy. I appreciate that. Don't worry about it, Best. I appreciate you, my guy. You say, my bad. Happy B-Day, Troy. I appreciate you. Thank you. New Lord says, Mitch not going to be available anytime soon. G5 Woods says Mitch won't be back until at least Thanksgiving, and that's a little worrisome. Now, hold up for a second, G5. I wouldn't say that because, again, he didn't re-injure himself. He didn't gain a new injury. All he's doing is trying to get through rehab, and the Knicks are being cautious with his rehab because, listen, we saw his injuries before. We saw his injury history. If they're not being cautious with him and they don't bring him along slow, he potentially could see a lot more injuries headed into next season. We can't deal with him dealing with another significant injury and missing that much time. If that happens, the Knicks just don't have the roster right now to recover from that. Nobody can replace Mitchell Robinson's defense or his block shots with the roster we have currently. Some people could try. They could try to do what he does, but it doesn't mean they're going to be successful. And until December 15th, we're not going to be able to do anything about it. That's why bringing him along slow is the best thing for us. But doing that is ultimately going to have him miss a couple of games. A couple of games might be the first 3 games, might be the first 5 games. It's not going to be pretty. But is he going to miss a lot of time till November, till Thanksgiving? No, I don't think that. I know he has to clear a lot. I know he has to clear a lot of hurdles, but not that many hurdles, not all the way to Thanksgiving. I would think the latest you see Robinson maybe is in the first week of November at most, because I don't think he's injured. Again, he's just rehab, and we have a lot of time. We're about a month out, maybe even close to 2 months if you want to consider the end of October, but we're close to that. And if Mitch is not going to play preseason, he's using that time to recover, to rehab, all of those things. So Mitch does have a lot of time available to him to continue to get better and potentially start. But I agree with you, it's not looking good, and I do think he comes back potentially the first week of November, but nowhere near the last week. That would be no way. I hope that doesn't happen, guys. That would be crazy to me. But let's keep it going here, guys. Back to the chat. Mike Miller says, the Knicks have to manage Robinson and control the team's load management. They have to. And they have the reason to do it this year because we want to play more players, right? You want to play Josh Hart more. You want to play Dante DiVincenzo more. How do you do that? Reduce your starter minutes. If the starters are going to play 35 minutes, have them play 30 minutes. And then give the extra 5 minutes that you add up from all of those players to everybody else. Give it to everybody else. Split it among all of them. And the Knicks being so good this year, we're going to blow out teams, guys. We're going to dominate teams. And the reason I know that is because I see the roster that we have. So if we dominate teams, that means our starters are going to be able to rest and our bench unit will play a little bit more minutes, like it always was supposed to be. Our starters were never supposed to play 40 plus minutes, 45 minutes. It was never supposed to be that way. The only reason it's that way is because we want to win games as well, too. Now, if your argument is Tom Thibodeau is not going to reduce minutes to that extent, You might have a point. Tom Thibodeau likes to run his starters a lot. But has he ever had a roster like this in front of him? I don't think so. Let's keep it going. Excuse me. Let's see. Who did I get to yet? Who didn't I talk about yet? Let's see. We have D-Block here, so I want to get to D-Block's comment because he's a member or whatnot. And again, if you guys want to be a member, hit that join button right on the channel right there. You can see it right now, and you'll be able to join as a member at any different tier. If you do that, you're automatically entered to giveaways that we're running each and every month, including Knick giveaways that we're doing in January that include Knick not season tickets, but Knick tickets for a game during the season. So we're going to be doing that. I don't know how many games we're going to do. Maybe 2 games, maybe 3 games. We'll think about it. I'm thinking 2 games at random dates. We'll talk about who. But if you want to get part of that, you got to join as a member. D-Block says, Mitch has to get right, period. He's a big part of the team, and he needs to be playing to give us a fair chance to go for a championship. You're not wrong, but the reports are what they are, and they're not great. They make me concerned. Makes me think that with Mitchell Robinson right now, not having our starting center, you know, what are the Knicks going to be able to do when they need to rely on that 5? And when they needed to potentially play Achua at backup 5 minutes, Achua might now have to start, and Jericho Sims might have to utilize the backup 5 minutes. And I don't know if either of them can play those minutes significantly enough for the Knicks to be able to defeat some of the teams that we're facing during this current run. The Knicks can do damage during the first 10 games in the right way or the wrong way. Perception is everything. And if we're not healthy, it could cost us the game. It could cost us significant games that otherwise we would have won if we were healthy. The Knicks have to manage players, of course, D-Block, but they also have to make sure that if he's part of the big picture and he's part of the championship window, then they have to make sure he stays and remains healthy. But I'll tell you this, I don't believe that's the case because of his injury history. Reliability and availability are the biggest things. If I can't rely on you, if I can't depend on you to be there during the moments where I'm going to need you the most, then I don't know how I can see you as a core main piece to this team. Mitchell Robinson has a lot to prove this year, and the main thing he has to prove is how long he can stay healthy for. I want to see it to believe it, but I appreciate the comments. Let's see. One more comment, and then we're going to go to the final topics for today. Let's see. We'll do two. DeRoss says, would like to see you and State again. Polar opposite, but make a good team. Hey, I appreciate that. Yeah, man, I appreciate you. When we do the watch-alongs and we're watching the game together, I plan on having other content creators, if they're available at the time, to join my room with me and watch the games with me. Watch what's happening with me. Comment on them with me. It might be, a different guest every night. It might be a different guest every week, but without a doubt, you'll definitely see that. But I appreciate you. Let's see. The other last comment I want to go to. Where was it? Where was it? Looking for the last one. It was a comment I wanted to go to. Oh, G5. Having Wingstop Bros minimizes our troubles at center position potentially. I agree with you. It does, but it doesn't take it away. And with Tom Thibodeau, he runs what he runs. And Tom Thibodeau loves rim protection. You're not going to take away that from him either. He likes to run his defensive schemes, usually with a dominant 5. So not to say he couldn't do anything like that. I'm just saying I know what I've seen from that man over the last few years. And he's never really backed down from having a strong 5 do what he does on the court. But I appreciate that. D-Block says, agree, just not sure of him staying healthy throughout the season. That's always going to be the concern. That's my concern now. That's why I want the Knicks to utilize the MLE to get another backup on this team. But if they feel like somebody in training camp can do better, then by all means, I have no problem with that. Last comment here. Well, James is back. James is back with the hate. James, just be clear, James. I gave you a break, okay? I gave you a break, James. I gave you a 5-minute timeout. Please don't come in here and start hating. I'm telling you now, James, if you do that, you're going to see a 10-minute one. And I don't want to do that to you. Just keep it respectful. And as long as you're respectful, not going to be no issues. But I appreciate you, James. New Lord says, Mitch absence will not be noticed. played 50-plus games without him and still was winning. Stop overreacting, Knicks fans. Appreciate you, New Lord, and I want to take that comment as the last comment we're going to go through for today. For right now, anyways. Later on in the show, when we're closing out, we'll do our normal comments back and forth, but I want to address that really quickly in regards to the Mitchell Robinson thing. There is every reason, New Lord, why the Knicks should be concerned and worried about Mitchell Robinson. We can talk about last season all we want to. Last season, a lot of other teams were dealing with injuries as well, too. And just because the Knicks did it last year doesn't mean we should have to rely on it or should depend on the Knicks doing it again this year. Because I said it before, when we had to do it again this year, we might have to face injury. We did it last year and faced significant injury. I don't want to have to face significant injury this time around. That's why having a center you can rely on, depend on, that can start the season and make sure you're fully healthy with your entire roster, that's something that I want. Because without a doubt, a fully healthy Knicks team each and every game, if that's the case and injury and health is not a concern, we could potentially win 65 games. Now, I'm not saying we're winning 65 games. I have the Knicks winning 60 plus, closer to 62. But if the Knicks had a fully healthy roster every single game, of course they could do everything and anything they wanted to do. The problem is, I don't think they're going to have a healthy roster. And that's where my concerns are. That's where most Knicks fans' concerns are. And it's okay to be concerned about that because we're hearing reports that he might not start the opener. He might not start the season. If it was just he's still doing rehab, he's going to miss preseason, but he's definitely going to play during the regular season. He's going to be their opening night. I don't think anybody would have so much disdain right now for Mitchell Robinson. Nobody would be hating on him right now. The fact that we already know he potentially won't be able to go opening night, that is why we feel the way that we feel. And that's why it's okay to criticize that or look at that. It's not to say you dislike Mitchell Robinson or you dislike the Knicks or what we're trying to do or achieve. It's basically saying you don't like to be here again. Why am I here again where my starting center is dealing with an injury and we're not even starting the season yet? And it's not even that he's dealing with an injury. He's dealing with the rehab from an injury that he suffered last year. It is what it is, but that's something worth noting. And that's something worth noting. And that's something that I think why many Knicks fans have the right to feel that way. Again, it's my opinion, but I appreciate you. Now, something that I also want to talk about here today, there are a couple of things, a couple of topics, but one of the main things to discuss as well, too, is the MVP ladder, right? So before we get into that, every single year, every single season, right? NBA analysts from Hoops Hype, ESPN, all these different outlets, what do? They predict more or less who's going to be in the MVP running next year, who they believe, what players they believe are going to play so well that they're going to be in the conversation for MVP. And thankfully for the Knicks have two players that made my goodness, can't talk today. My goodness, I have no idea what's going on. I apologize. The Knicks have two players on that list for next season. And I'm so happy to say it's Jalen Brunson and it's Julius Randle. Let's go ahead and break that down and this list today. Shout out to NBA Central, the Dunk Central as they're known on the app X. They state the following. Jason Tatum is the favorite to win the Finals MVP next season. Now, here's the thing. According to Bodega official, here's where things get interesting. Finals MVP for next season. You see Jalen Brunson there at plus 1,100. You see Julius Randle there at plus 5,000. So I gotta say, two Knicks being on this potential MVP list. I don't know the last time I've seen it. I don't know the last time the Knicks got all of this praise, all of this credit, but I am happy for it. Right now, the Knicks are in the best shape they've ever been in. We have the best roster we've ever had, and more importantly, the Knicks are gaining respect in each and every area. I'm not saying they don't get disrespect. They still do, and honestly, we've talked about the disrespect time and time again because you can't stop people sometimes from having that disrespect or disdain from the Knicks. Some people just want to be haters, and we know who they are. But sometimes we have outlets like Hoops Hype that give the Knicks the credit that they deserve. Finals MVP, means that they believe the Knicks are going to be in the finals against whoever they're going to be playing against. And we're talking about 2 Knicks being in there, Julius Randle and Jalen Brunson. Let's take a look at that list again. Tatum, Brown, Joker, SGA, Embiid, Brunson, Luka, Ant-Man, Giannis, Cat. I don't even know why Cat is in there. Ja Morant, and Julius Randle. That right there is significant. It speaks volumes. It tells you that a lot of people headed into next season have a lot of faith that the Knicks are going to be one of the best teams in the league. You're not one of the best teams in the league next season and have 2 players in the MVP voting for finals MVP, mind you, if you don't have one of the best teams next season. And all of these guys are predicting potentially that the Knicks are going to be the team that goes all the way to the NBA Finals. How can you not love that? As a Knicks fan, when's the last time we've ever seen something like that? When's the last time the Knicks were projected or predicted to be an NBA Finals team and have 2 players in the running for MVP of the NBA Finals? I don't think I've seen it a lot of times, but I'm so happy to be part of this history today because it does mean a lot. Something that also means a lot, and a question that I also got asked a couple of streams ago, it was about OG Anunoby. Now we know OG Anunoby made history. Now he did so, according to reports, by threatening to leave the Knicks in free agency if he didn't get this deal. But whatever the case may be, that's water under the bridge now. Anunoby is a Knick for the next 5 years. We all have to love that. But his contract is one of the richest contracts in Knicks franchise history. He made a lot of money because of that. But because he got the contract, though, and he got so much money, a lot of us were wondering, are there any injury protections built into his contract? What happens if he goes down with injury? Are the Knicks protected? What's going to happen? Well, shout out to Ian Bagley, because in his latest mailbag, he actually answered my question when I asked him that. According to Bagley, I asked him the following question, though. I stated, with regards to OG Anunoby's new contract, are there any injury protections built into his new deal? And he didn't waste any time. It was a single sentence answer from my guy Bagley. He answered it very clearly. No injury protections in that deal. It's all fully guaranteed. All fully guaranteed. That right there is why I'm concerned. That's all of that contract. 215 plus million guaranteed. You wonder why I would be concerned. You wonder why I would be having these type of anxiety moments sometimes with OG Anunoby. Because it's not to say he didn't deserve the contract. Again, the Knicks needed to pay him. I'm glad he got his money, and I'm glad he's part of this Knicks organization for the foreseeable future. I believe that. But him signing that contract and having no injury protections in it does concern me, because if he goes down, that contract is fully guaranteed, ladies and gentlemen. He will sit on his couch and then he'll rehab, try to return and come back and get paid all throughout. I understand why the Knicks did it, because maybe if they had to include an injury clause in that contract, maybe OG doesn't sign, or maybe he doesn't sign for a little bit less than the max. We got to remember, did he sign for the full max? He didn't. It was a little bit less. So because he signed for a little bit less than the max, that's the reason, the main reason why I think the Knicks didn't include that injury protection. Because if they did include it, he might have asked for more money, or he potentially would have looked at free agency harder, explored free agency, and waited till it started before he made any type of announcement on where he wanted to go. But the Knicks didn't want to waste any time, and maybe including a clause like that would have done so. But OG Anunoby now has a lot to prove. He has to go into next season in a well-conditioned manner. He has to play a lot of games. He has to take care of his body, but he also has to be that force for a significant period of time. I don't want to see any injuries at all. Now, is it possible that OG Anunoby could re-hurt himself in some way? Of course. That's possible with anybody coming back from injury, and I don't want to see anybody deal with that. OG Anunoby is the guy, the player that we needed on this team to make sure we looked different. Our defense looked different. Our team looked like a contending team when he was out there. That's why OG Anunoby, for me, right behind Julius and Brunson, is probably the biggest impactful player. And then right behind him is Mikal Bridges. Now, you might be saying, well, Mikal, we traded all those picks for him. We did. I'm talking about overall impact and fit for this team. And by the way, it's close. It's not to say that OG Anunoby is greater than him by hundreds and thousands of points. That's not the case at all. It's to say that we have such a stacked roster that I can say that Anunoby some nights might be the third option, might be the third best player. Mikal might be the third best player. But we have the roster to be able to do that right now. And I hope we can be able to take advantage of that. Anunoby's going to have to show out, though, guys. He's going to have to play his He's going to have to play his best brand of basketball headed into next season. Make sure he reduces those injuries and ensures he does everything possible to stay healthy, active on the floor, and ensures that when we go into the postseason, he doesn't have any injuries concerns lingering, because that's the main reason we want him as well, too. The defense in the postseason is going to be crazy, guys. Regular season OG Anunoby is a monster. But OG Anunoby and that defense in the postseason, as we saw against the Philadelphia 76ers, it's out of this world. Nearly unstoppable. He takes it to another level. So I am kind of happy here that, I should say this. I am happy that the Knicks have and resigned OG Anunoby. I'm concerned he has no injury protections in his contract, but I understand why the Knicks did it. So all in all, it's okay to me. OG Anunoby, I hope you stay healthy, my brother, because I think you're going to have a strong, strong year. I want to move on to another topic here, though, today, because this is going to be our last topic of today that we cover before we go to the live chat and see what you guys have to say. Now, for me, with the Knicks right now, we're talking about contracts. We're talking about Mikal Bridges, potentially him extending. We already know what Jalen Brunson did, right? Signing that historic contract with the Knicks at a crazy discount, something that nobody thought he would potentially do. And then we now look at Julius Randle. Julius Randle is eligible to sign a contract extension with the Knicks this season right now. He can do it as we speak. But you notice, the Knicks are not talking about that. Julius Randle not talking about that. Last we heard from updates from Ian Bagley is that these contract extension talks, at least with Randle and the Knicks, are not at the forefront of their mind. The only thing they're thinking about right now is winning, and winning each and every game that they possibly can, going to the NBA Finals and bringing a championship home to New York. That's all they want. But what about Julius Randle's contract? Because if the Knicks don't pay him anything right now and they don't sign him to anything, then he potentially could go into next season as an unrestricted free agent. But that may not be the case, because according to one NBA writer, he believes that Randle will pick up his player option come next season. Let's go to that slide real quick. There we go. Shout out to Knicks Muse on the app X for giving us the following information. According to them, salary cap expert Keith Smith on the NBA.com stated on Julius Randle's $30.9 million player option for next summer. I would say a pretty good bet that Julius Randle picks that up, just because it doesn't look like a great free agent market for teams that have cap space next summer. Not that you couldn't still work out a sign-in trade or something like that, but my guess is he's probably going to pick that up. This is very, very important here, because all I've heard all offseason long is that the Knicks don't extend Randle right now, and he goes into that contract year, and he has a phenomenal year. Next offseason, the Knicks may not be able to retain him because he might explore free agency, because he's going to be an unrestricted free agent. However, according to this report, next summer, maybe Randle doesn't do any of that because he knows the free agency during that time is not going to be strong, and he's not going to get the contract that he wants anyways. So potentially it might make more sense to pick up his option. And ironically enough, if he picks up that player option and makes that money, the Knicks might be able to pay him a lot more at the end of that deal. So again, it's going to be up to Randle. It's going to be up to the Knicks. It's going to be up to what they want to do. But him picking up that player option definitely seems realistic, because I don't think anybody during free agency, when he's going to be a free agent, is going to want to pay him that much money, at least that amount of money. We got to remember, he's going to be getting older at that point in time. And once you're getting at that age, around 30 to 31, I don't think you're as valuable anymore to teams around the league. I'm not saying you don't carry value. You do, but it's less. And that means any trade package for you or any value for you is always going to be a little bit less. So I don't see really any other team in the league even going after Julius Randle with some type of trade or seeing any type of trade happening at this point in time, because the Knicks still have to build up that value. And that value that he builds up will all determine what happens during the summer. If he picks up that contract extension during the summer, it might be for a reason. Maybe he didn't play well, or maybe the Knicks promised him something after he picked it up. There could be reasons to that. But his contract, whatever the next deal he gets, the next significant deal that Randle gets, it's always going to be dependent on what he does this upcoming season and his postseason success. If those two things are off the charts, regardless of anything, I think Randle's next deal, regardless of if it's with the Knicks or another team, it's going to be monstrous. It might not be the max, but it might be close to the max. And Randle deserves it. He gave up a lot of money in his first deal with the Knicks. If he remains a Knick, it makes sense that he wants to get as much money as possible, but still take less to give the Knicks flexibility, but do better than an extension that he could do right now if he accepted one. Because right now, you can make the argument, if he accepted an extension now, it wouldn't be the best offer for him, given his level of play and what he's looking to do. That's why monster bully ball Randle year is coming. You thought what you saw in January or last year from Randle was anything amazing? Wait until this upcoming season when he has the perfect roster around him. He has the perfect players around him. He knows how to utilize those players. He knows how to find those players. His value is going to skyrocket, not only at the trade deadline, but come the offseason as well, too. And at that point, the Knicks will have an option to make. Do they extend Randle? Would they allow him to pick up his option that they have, the $30+ million option? Or potentially, do they sign and trade him because they didn't like what they saw from this regular season and postseason performance? It's all going to be on the Knicks, Leon Rose, and that front offense. But we know Leon Rose, James Dolan, everybody in that front office, they are a supporter of Randle and his loyalty. And if they love his loyalty, you know they're going to respect it. You know they're going to respect it by giving that loyalty back in spades and paying him the contract that he wants to stay on this team. That doesn't mean he won't be traded in the future, but it does mean the Knicks are going to take care of him. And taking care of him might start with him accepting that player option next summer. I can't wait to see what happens, but I know this upcoming season, you can best believe Randle, bully ball inside, dominant, shooting the mid-range, dominant. He might not have the same amount of points that he did last year, but his assist numbers are going to go up. He might average 9 assists. 9. You want to say I'm crazy? That's fine. I remember each and every play last year where Randle was doubled or triple teamed. He passed it to the corner, and that player missed the shot. Who's going to be in that corner now? Jalen, Josh, Deuce, OG, Mikal? All those players can do what? All those players can handle what? Shooting the three ball, knocking down shots, making sure that they know no matter what you say, they're going to trust the pass, they're going to hit the shot, and we're going to run back on defense, because that's what the Knicks have created this year. That's the monster of a roster you have to deal with this year. Randle down low, Jalen Brunson penetrating and creating, and everybody on the team being able to hit a three-point shot, maybe besides our center. Good luck dealing with that. And then on the defensive end, you're going to be suffocated with the amount of defense that we're going to give you. It is going to be a show. I can't wait. But shout out to Randle. Shout out to Julius coming back fully healthy very soon. And if he picks up that option, it won't be surprising to me, but I will think that the Knicks have a plan in mind if he does so. But that's it for this show. I'm done with this particular segment of this show for today. I really appreciate that, guys. Thank you so much. It is my birthday. You guys have been turning up in the chat, and I really do appreciate that. And as you guys know, like I always do, when we're done with the regular show and we're done with all the topics we have to cover, the next part of it is going to the chat, going to you guys, talking to you, hearing your comments, your questions, and maybe you have some questions for me about my birthday, maybe questions about how old I am, questions about what's in this cup, questions about a number of different things. I'm happy to answer that. But before I do, I just want to shout out all our great members. Now you can see them on the channel. If you join the Knicks Recap on the YouTube side of the channel and you go to the page, you're going to see we have a special message to all the unique members that we have as part of the channel. If you want to be part of that, you want to be part of the giveaways, all you have to do to join that is hit the join button on screen. You can select any tier that you want to be in, and then you're automatically at that point in time entered for each and every giveaway that we're running. Speaking of giveaways, I have the giveaway package. I have the present. I have everything ready. I'm just waiting now for Apau Diaz, the person who won the giveaway, to make themselves known in any comment. And that way I'll see it. I'll get your email, your information somehow, and I can work out giving you your giveaway gift. Because right now I have it in my house, and I'd like to give it to you because you won it fair and square. And I want to make sure you give it. I want to make sure I give it to you. You can wear it and you can shout me out as well. It'll be very important. Another thing I want to do, the last thing I want to do before we go to the rest of the chat, is the Knicks on the playback. So as you see here, the Knicks recap. This channel, my channel, is on the playback.tv. If you want to watch watch-alongs next season with me live, if you want to see what I can do, if you want to see my live reactions, you want to come up as a speaker, you want to chat with me in live real time about the game as a speaker, maybe even during halftime, this is how you do it. You join the Knicks Recap Playback TV channel, you join as a member, and when we go live, you'll notice it there, and you can join right from that platform. Now, of course, we're going to be streaming directly to X and directly to YouTube as well, so you're not going to miss out really if you can't join the playback.tv. But the advantage of joining playback.tv is that you're going to be able to link your league pass to that. And when you do that, you're then going to be able to join me, watch the game in real time, and that's how we're going to be able to enjoy the game. Another thing as well, too, some of the members that we have part of this channel, if you want to watch the game with me, but you're worried about a blackout situation, because you're going to be members of this channel, and I'll recognize that, I'll give you moderation and those type of alerts and roles as part of the Knicks Recap Playback channel. And part of that means that you're going to be able to share my subscription, so you're going to be able to see those games without having to worry about any blackout issues, so you're going to be able to watch them in real time with me. Only to the members as well, too. Again, another perk of being a member. But shout out to you guys. I really do appreciate that. That's going to do it for this right now. So I want to go to the live chat and see what you guys have to say. So let's go to the chat. Appreciate you guys. Let's see what you guys have to say. All right. We're going to go through a couple of comments. And again, we're going to go for as long as you guys want. I think 2 o'clock is going to be my cutoff, but it might be 1:45 depending on the chat goes. Okay. So I appreciate that, guys. Let's pull it back up. All right. Let's go. Roger F says, Troy, what are your birthday plans for tonight? Thank you very much. I actually have dinner planned with one of my best friends. I've known him for 19 years, probably almost as long as I've been a Knicks fan. So very happy to have dinner with my friend. And also, we're going to hit a bar, I think, afterwards. So recap is going to be lit. So it's going to be really, really fun. I'm really excited. And if anybody knows me, the restaurant I'm going to is a Naruto ramen spot because I love my anime. So it's a very good way to get that mirrored together and paired together. But I appreciate it. And thank you for asking that question. Let's see it here. Tony says, 2012 D Rose was a problem. Tony's right. He was a problem. Paul says, Troy, I hope you have a wonderful birthday weekend. Go Knicks, go. Let's get Jonas or Kessler, and the banner and ring will be ours. Paul, man, listen, I want Jonas Valanciunas or Walker Kessler. Between the two, I would prefer Walker Kessler. But Danny Ainge don't want to give us Walker Kessler, and I don't know why. Well, no, I do know why. He likes to fleece everybody. He likes to fleece everyone and anybody when it comes to this team and what they're trying to do. And we all know that. He loves that. And unless he can fleece you, he's not going to do a deal with you. So Walker Kessler is the ideal trade target for me. But honestly, probably not the best player to look at because Ainge is going to want everything and anything. So good idea, I guess, but probably not going to happen. The other part of that is Jonas Valanciunas. Now, Jonas, for me, has always been the realistic target once I've heard from the Wizards that they were looking to trade him. Remember, the Knicks were looking at veteran centers at one point in time. They were trying to look at Jonas Valanciunas at one point in time, but they could never get him on this team. You got to look at it now. The Washington Wizards are going to be active to try to trade him. He's on a 3-year, around $11 million per year contract right now. So the Knicks can definitely afford him on this team. The Washington Wizards reportedly want a first-round pick back for him. The Knicks have Washington's protected first-round pick. That pick means nothing to nobody. Nobody cares about that pick except Washington. You give Washington back their pick, you give them Precious Achiuwa, maybe you give them another player on this roster, or you utilize the MLE to sign a player that you can include in that deal to get another type of impactful player on this type of team, and that impactful player would be Jonas Valanciunas. He's not the best at this age. He's not going to move as great. He's not going to have the level of defense that you expect. But here's the thing. He's going to be a backup. For 20-plus minutes, he's going to be a backup. And if you're playing backup on this Knicks team for 20-plus minutes and you have the ability to start, you can stretch the floor, you can bang down low, you're great at getting rebounds, I'm okay with Jonas Valanciunas as part of this team. And if the cost is going to be something that's not going to take away my core players, and I'm able to get him at a discount, I'm doing that each and every time. But I'm only doing it as a second option if I can get my first option done. That would be a Kessler, or maybe some other name comes out of the woodwork that I wasn't even thinking about. But of course, if they become available, you look at them, you target them, you want to get them on this team. So there are levels to this. But thank you for the comment. Very good. Let's keep it going here. D-Block says, are you sure? Follow my brother recap on all platforms as I do. Salute to him for all his achievements. My guy, D-Block, man, thank you so much. Long time member of the channel as well, too. And I've seen you a couple of times, man, always supporting the channel, always on all the platforms, even the playback. I saw you as well. If you do watch some games with me during that time, I'm definitely going to make you a moderator. So that's going to be your role. So you're going to be able to kind of handle the chat while I'm watching the game in real time. And I'm going to invite you up as a speaker during those times so you can join me and be able to give your comments. So shout out to you, my guy. Really appreciate you. Let's see. What else we got here? Tony says, Troy, you should have told me. I would have went to that restaurant. I want an anime ramen place. Tony, man, listen, I didn't know. It was a surprise, you know. I didn't know really till today because I needed to know. Because if I didn't know, because after the stream, I'm going to go see my mom. I'm driving over to see my mom. Going to go say hi. I got to go get a cut. All those other things at the bar, right? So I'm going to do that. And tomorrow, for anybody who doesn't know, the Roommates show. They're having that live show in Central Park. I'm actually going to be there. So if anybody else is going to be there and you want to do a little bit of a meet and greet, I'm not going to charge you, obviously. You can see me during that show. I'll be part of the General Assembly over there, taking videos and whatnot, trying to share it on YouTube and everything else like that. I might make some live content when I'm at the show. So I'll definitely be doing that. But yeah, after this stream, I'm going straight to my mom's house. So I got to go see her and all these other things. So it's a little bit of a busy day, but I really didn't know what I was doing till today. And I needed to know what time that was because it's going to interfere on what time I was going to go see my mom and if I could even get the cut or not. So I needed to understand those things. But if I had known, I would have shouted it out if anybody wanted to join. Because, of course, it would have been great to chop it up with you guys. Maybe I'll do that next year. Might be a good thing to think about doing next year. Or maybe a good members meet and greet for all the members of the channel. Maybe we can do on occasion. We can have a members meet and greet. We can come together, have dinner, you know, and take care of that. I think that would be a really, really good idea. So maybe we do that. Good idea, Tony. You're always giving me ideas, my guy. Paris says, Randle is so unhappy right now. He's gone the first decent offer made. He wants money. All right, Parrish. We're going to have to talk about this, Parrish. You know that. We're going to have to talk about that comment, Parrish. Why is Randle mad? Randle's not mad. Maybe you're saying he's mad because in terms of the report I just said, right? Regarding Keith Smith, an NBA insider who stated that Randle might accept that player option and pick it up next year, or next summer, I should say, $30.9 million. Now, he definitely could do that. He could pick up that option. I absolutely believe he will pick up that option because I think the Knicks have a plan in place. But I don't think he would be unhappy about that. I think if he picked up that option, it would be because he knows a lot of money is coming his way. The Knicks wouldn't have told him to pick up the option, or he wouldn't have thought picking up the option was a good idea if he didn't know something else is coming his way. And he's CAA. You got to remember, CAA players are going to get paid. They're going to get theirs. He didn't rejoin CAA after all of that time just to not get the contract that he wants. So listen, I understand it. I understand why some people may think he's mad, especially if you look at a contract like OG Anunoby, and then maybe you look at Jalen Brunson, and you're thinking to yourself, well, do I have to take less? Can I take more? Can I take what I want? You're not sure. I don't think Randle's unhappy, though. If anything, I think Randle might be the most happy of his entire career right now because he knows he's going into a season where he can rely on anybody on that court, and we have a legitimate chance to go all the way to the NBA Finals. Why else wouldn't you want to be happy for that? I think he's happy, and he's going to be even more happy with the contract extension that he gets if he plays himself into a big deal. The way to do that, have an amazing regular season and a triumphant return to the postseason. And I think he's going to do just that. But I appreciate the comments. Even if we don't agree, I appreciate you, my guy. Let's keep it going. New Lord says, are you getting a Knicks birthday cake? Go all in, Troy. I don't know. I mean, if they do a design, I might. I don't know if I'm going to do it. It's a good idea. A good idea, though. Tony Riviera says, Dolan loves Randle and vice versa. He's happy. I mean, Tony said it. I've said it a couple of times. The man has support everywhere, doesn't he? Has support from the front office, Leon Rose, everybody in the front office, Worldwide West, Gerson Roses. We can talk about everybody in there. Everybody loves Randle at this point in time. Randle is too loyal. Randle's been loyal. Dolan loves that. Dolan has always loved loyalty. You want to know how I know that? Anybody want to Google Steve Mills? If you're too young in the room, Steve Mills. Remember him? What did he do for the Knicks? He was president, right? What did he do before then? How did he get a job with the Knicks again? What was his first initial job with the Knicks when he was here before? Think about all of that. Dolan kept him on the payroll and kept him and kept giving him upgrades and different jobs because he was loyal. He was loyal. It wasn't until Leon Rose came over and he's like, you know what? We got to change things. Got to change everything. I need my people in here. And I trust me when I say, once I get my people in here, we're going to be in here for the long haul, just like you want. So I think that loyalty is always going to be respected and reciprocated from Randle, Dolan, the front office. That's why I think Randle gets the contract that he wants. And I think he gets it from the Knicks. But I don't know when he gets it. I don't think he signs that contract extension. And after reading this about him potentially picking up that player option, it might make sense because no team in the NBA might offer him a contract that's equal to that year per year. And I don't think he's going to want to take less. So maybe you wait to get the contract that you want after that option. And that could happen with the Knicks. They could extend him to a lot of money. And it might make sense for Randle to do that for the Knicks. It gives the Knicks flexibility. It makes what Jalen Brunson did in terms of his sacrifice with all that money make sense. And you get Julius Randle back, still at a large contract, but still less than the max. And he's part of this Knicks team probably for the rest of his career. This is probably one of the plans being looked at right now. And Randle, big part of it. Paris says exactly, Troy. Randle knows he's worth way more money than he's going to make the next 2 years. Maybe so, but it's all about, even though you're worth that much money, Parrish, it's all about, are you going to get that much money? I could be worth $20 million. You know, I can go to the bank right now. I'm worth $20 million. So give it to me. I'm good for it. But if I believe that, but the league doesn't believe that I'm in, I'm not really worth that. Your worth and your value is all based off of the majority of what the league sees you as. And right now, Randle's value probably wouldn't dictate him getting a contract of over 30 plus million a year. It really depends on his play this year and in the postseason. That's going to determine how much money he gets. So that's how I see it, Parrish. I don't know about you. Still Knick fans, what's going on? I don't know if that's Ron. It probably is Ron. What's going on, Ron, my guy? Appreciate you. He says, what's good, Troy? Happy birthday, bro. Salute to the chat. Let's go Knicks. Appreciate you, my guy. Thank you so much. If you guys haven't seen Ron, haven't joined their streams, they usually do it on the weekends, I believe Saturdays. You got to do it. You got to join them. They talk Knicks. They bring fans up there. It's a little bit different than how I run my lives, but still very, very good. It's innovative, and that's what we all want. So definitely shout out to them. They're on screen right now. Click on their profile. Follow them. Subscribe to them. I follow them. I've subscribed to them. And again, I don't do that for just anybody. I do it for people that have worthwhile content. And those guys, They always do. Let's keep it going here. Let's see. Dara says, not one, not two, three. I appreciate you. Let's keep it going. Let's see. Randle deserves it. Pay him, Dolan. New Lord, I agree with you. He does. He definitely does. He deserves his money. He gave us a discount already, right? And if he gave us that discount already, he deserves to get his money. He deserves to get paid. I agree. Let's see here. Paris says, Troy, Randle isn't confident he's going to be healthy enough to show he's worth the more money. Show me where Randle has spoken at all about this season, his new role and his extension being put off. I covered it actually. I covered it, a video about Randle when he was promoting his shoe deal in China. And during that time, a reporter asked him about his role next season, how he feels. And he said he was excited to play with this team. He's looking forward to it. He has a great feeling about this season. He thinks they can go really far. There was a couple of things along those lines, I believe. But that's basically what was said, Parrish. And anytime he's asked about the season and asked about playing with Mikal Bridges, I believe even Ian Bagley reported after the trade was done, Randle was quoted to say he's very, very excited to get to share the court. To get to share the court with Mikal Bridges and play with him. So Randle himself said he was excited to play with Mikal Bridges, wanted to share the court with him, excited for his defense, what he brings. So yeah, I think he's always kept it very firm, Parrish, that he loves the Knicks, loves this team, excited for next season, wants to play. He's not said anything bad. So I don't think that leads to me thinking he's not confident. If anything, I would say he's still very confident. I have no reason not to believe it. Appreciate you, though. Tony says, I super chatted twice on their streams. Tony is the man. Tony super chats all the time. I love Tony. I really do. Shout out to Tony. Still Nick fan says, appreciate you, Troy. Thanks for the shout out. Salute Tony and salute D Block from Still Nick fans. And obviously, it's always a pleasure and always love. Roger says, you and I should do a podcast and call it Percentage Parrish and Farrish Show. I don't know what the percentage part is. If you're trying to say like it's a bad word, like the blank Parrish and Farrish Show, I'm not sure. But hey, listen, you guys might be able to do that if you guys want to. That's another way to get your brand out there. Why not? Let's see what else we got out here. Parrish says, trade Randle for Jimmy Butler. Oh, Parrish. It's my birthday, Parrish. Why'd you do that? Why'd you do that, Parrish? You know I'm going to have to respond to that now, no? You know I'm going to have to respond to that now, no? Oh, no. Oh, okay. All right, I'm going to drink from this cup and then I'm going to respond. I'm going to drink from this cup and I'm going to respond. Okay. All right. All right. Parrish. I mean this with all due respect because I love the difference of opinion. You know that. I don't mind anybody who has a difference of opinion. Shout it out. I want you to differ. I want you to have I want you to have differing opinions. I don't want you to agree with me all the time. That's not fun. I want the disagreements to be real and to be important. There is no planet, Parrish, that I am trading an aging Jimmy Butler to be on this team, and I have to include Julius Randle in that deal. No way. I am not including Randle in any deal for Jimmy Butler. Randle is better than Jimmy Butler is right now, especially for the Knicks. There is no way, Parrish. There is no way. So support and salute Troy. Let's hope Randle plays. That's what Parrish says in terms of the super chat. Parrish, my guy, thank you so much. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much for that. Like I said, it's all love. I respect your opinion, and I understand. You think the Knicks should trade Randle right now for Jimmy Butler. I absolutely disagree because I believe that right now, the Knicks have the best roster in place for Randle to fit perfectly. If Butler came here, he doesn't fit perfectly. Not only that, Butler is aging in this league. He is dealing with injury after injury, significant injuries, mind you, year after year. I am never trading Julius Randle and who he is to this team, his impact and what he means for an aging out of this league, Jimmy Butler. It is not worth it. I appreciate you, though. Appreciate the comment. Just would never do it. Impossible. It would hurt me. It would hurt my heart. It would hurt my heart as a Knicks fan to ever see that happen. Hugo says, I believe we have a jewel in our center position that we don't know about. Mitchell Robinson came in as a rookie before he blossomed. Maybe we should try one of our rookies. You know, Hugo, I mentioned earlier in the show, actually, that Ian Begley stated that potentially one of the guys on a camp deal or maybe a two-way deal, maybe one of them could show out during training camp. And if they show out during training camp, maybe that leads the Knicks to offer them a standard NBA deal and they take that final roster spot. And then if that's a center, then there's your backup at least until Mitchell Robinson comes back, at least until at least until December 15th, when the Knicks can trade Precious Achiuwa and some other assets to get another backup big on this team. So those are the things, the milestones anyways, that the Knicks are looking at, that the Knicks are looking for. And I think that's part of it. I appreciate your comment, though, Hugo. New Lord says, Paris, stop your nonsense. New Lord says, Miami Heat wish they had Randle. Tony says, I wouldn't trade McBride for Jimmy right now. It's Troy's B-Day. Let's get them super chats rolling. Hey, listen, man, thank you again, Tony, for the super chat. I really do appreciate that. And I really do appreciate all the super chats that I get. Obviously, not required, but I love it. And all those proceeds help the show get bigger and better. And obviously, I'm looking to make sure that each and every giveaway that I do comes from proceeds of the show. So this is a large part of that. And usually it all comes back around, right? But I appreciate that, Tony. Thank you. Paris says, I think Randle is damaged goods like Butler. However, Jimmy Butler is a situational great player. Oh, Parrish, you're going to have to eat these words, man. You're going to have to eat these words, Parrish. Julius Randle? You think that Jimmy Butler is a better player situationally right now than Randle is? Maybe you can sell me on that versus overall. But overall, you can't sell me on that. Randle's a better overall player right now than Jimmy Butler. And I'll always take the overall than anything else. We're going to go back and forth on this topic forever. Let me put this in a bow for you. I am not trading Julius Randle for anybody that is not a superstar because Randle gives me superstar numbers. And unless I'm getting the same, there's no reason for me to do that. That's my answer to that, Parrish. But I appreciate you. Michael Dollar says, salute. Salute my guy to you, my brother. Thank you. Let's see. Gangster Trump says 100% 2024. Let's just hope that Thibs balance the players' minutes so they be around for the entire playoffs. Listen, man, I'm going to call you GT, Gangster Trump, because I don't want to say the full name. So GT, I agree with you, my brother. I think right now, Tom Thibodeau has a situation in his head where he has a number of players he's going to have to play, a number of minutes he's going to have to utilize. And when that's the case, he's going to have to utilize them the right way. The way you play this team, this roster currently, is by sacrificing minutes from the starters, giving those minutes to bench players, and that way you keep the team balanced, healthy, going into the postseason. When we get there, we might be one of the most healthy teams when we get there as well, too. But that's how you do it, ladies and gentlemen. You have to do it that way. That's the only way you get it done. That's part of sacrifice. I appreciate the comment. Thank you so much, GT. New Lord says, Paris is sipping some spiked Kool-Aid or something. My goodness, you guys are going back and forth on Paris. Listen, Paris, I'm not going to go that in on you. You've been respectful to me, so I'll be respectful to you. I don't really agree with your take. That's been obvious, but I'm not going to go back and forth with you like I don't understand why you have the take. Because a lot of people I know that are Knicks fans share your philosophy, share what you believe. So I'm not going to go critical on you to that degree. All I'm going to say is exactly what I said. I don't agree, and I don't think the Knicks are even going to trade Randle at this point in time. They support him too much, and they love him too much. Let's see here. Michael Dollar says, JR is a Knick forever. I agree with that. Roger says, I think Parrish giving Troy a little pushback makes Troy better. I appreciate that. Well, I don't know if you mean makes me better in terms of like going back and forth. I think I go back and forth with everybody, but I love going back and forth with Parrish though, because Parrish keeps it respectful. He doesn't go disrespectful. doesn't try to criticize any one particular thing. He talks about the team. So that's why when you have a basketball conversation, everybody benefits from it. So Paris is part of that. I really appreciate that. Let's see. All right. Got some more. I guess we're going to keep going. We got comments. I was going to end it around a minute ago, but you guys are very active in the chat, so I don't really see why. Rob Chin says, we'll wait for the deadline for a Randle move or a decision. He'll determine what happens with his play and availability. Plus, we need to see how he messes with the Nova squad. Rob, exactly right. Although I'll disagree a little bit there. I'll push back a little bit. I don't think you're going to see a Randle trade at the deadline either, because that means that you saw Julius Randle excel at the regular season. We always know what Randle can do in the regular season. The question mark is the postseason. When that happens, that's when the trade value excels. It skyrockets. But yes, for the most part, I do agree with your statement there, Rob. I do think that he'll determine his worth and his value all based on his play during the regular season and the postseason. Once that happens, he'll get the contract that he deserves. I believe that. Whether or not he'll be a Knick, all depends on how he performs and how he plays. But I love the Knicks and what he does. Absolutely. Got to agree with that, Rob. GT says, happy birthday, my brother, and may the Lord richly bless you. Enjoy many more. Thank you, my brother. That's really sweet of you. Really, really kind of you, my guy. I really appreciate that. Roger says, Troy, it takes Paris 2 hours to watch 60 minutes. I agree. Oh, come on, man. I didn't say that. All right, I'm going to watch some of these comments before I say them. That's mean. I'm not going to say that. That was mean. Randall says, with that big body, Tony says, Randall with that big body will just keep getting people out the paint. Not too many can do that nowadays. He's right. Randall type players, bully ball type players that can draw 2 or 3 defenders and pass the way that Randall passes. When's the last time we've seen anything like that? Anytime we've seen Randall do something like that, we weren't shocked at the pass and how good the pass was and the fact that Randall was the one making it. You can say what you want to say about his game, but power forwards in the league, they don't pass like Randall does. That's a very good skill to have. That's a unique skill for Randall to have. So I love that. And I think this year, we're going to take advantage of that Randall pass, especially inside the paint. We are going to run through the league with it because there's nothing you can do to stop it. Nothing. You don't double team Randall, you're going to get cooked. You double team Randall, he's a good enough playmaker to find other players to get an open shot and make you pay anyways. Good luck to the league because I know Randall is going to torture everybody. BL says, how do you think the additions of Bridges will do to the defensive rotation? Does it allow us to absorb the issues or potential issues with the 5? I appreciate that comment. We actually spoke about that earlier in the show. I don't think that the issue at the 5 spot will force the Knicks into a situation unless another type of injury happens. Because look, at right now, at this situation, we can see the Knicks with 9 players automatically. 10 players if you really want to push it. Mitchell Robinson being your center. If that's the case, and he goes down with injury, then you have another player in Precious Achiuwa and Jericho Sims to put out there. Even if you don't want to roll out Jericho Sims and you just want to play Precious Achiuwa, you can still do that either as a backup or have him start. And then as the backup rotation happens, you can have the Knicks play OG Anunoby at the 5 on defense. And then on offense, they can switch with Randall and OG, and Randall can play the 5 on offense. I can see that happening. And potentially, that's the best way to do it. Now, is it going to happen under head coach Tom Thibodeau? Only if he's forced. Thibodeau will never go to that lineup when he's fully healthy. There's no reason for that. Thibodeau loves the rim protection more than anything else. To your point, we now have the wings to defend against penetration headed into the paint. But Tom Thibodeau always loves a strong 5 that controls the paint. That's a dominant paint player. And that player normally has to be a very good defender. I don't know if the Knicks are going to want to go small ball because whoever you have at the 5 is going to be limited to do what Mitchell Robinson is doing. Rebound and block shots and maybe not have a big role on offense because out of that role, like iHeart was doing, he was getting the rebounds and passing to another player that had a better shot or passing to a Jalen Brunson that was going into the paint. That's something to consider, guys. And I think that's a reason why I think that even though Mikal Bridges is going to be added to this lineup, he's going to be the early substitution to the bench because the Knicks are going to want to replicate what they have with OG Anunoby and the starters. That type of defensive constant If you keep Mikal Bridges in the bench unit as well too, then you also have that defensive constant as well. And the Knicks have other options that they can run out there at center if they utilize that 15th roster spot for a player that they have at training camp. We still have options to do that as well. So just don't think it's Jericho Sims and Achua right now. It's that currently because the Knicks haven't done anything else. Once they do something else, we'll know if they have another player that we can think about at that center spot. But very good comment and question. Really appreciate that. Let's see. Okay, I want to get somebody new. So let's see. GT says, GT says, you always have a great show. I really appreciate that, my guy. Thank you so much. It really, really does mean a lot to hear those comments, especially on my birthday. Can't lie, but it does mean a lot to me to hear people love the show, want to see the show continue, want to see the show, continue to include fans, this type of engagement, the topics that we cover, all of these things. It means a lot, and it doesn't go unnoticed. And I want to say thank you to everybody who watches. I also want to make an announcement with Knicks Live. We've been doing it basically all summer. That show is going to be an off-season show, and it's going to be maybe a show that I do during the All-Star break. That's the only times you're going to see that show moving forward at this point, because there's no way for me to do it during the regular season. There's just too much content. I'm always going to have the regular videos going out. The live streams on Friday in the afternoon, I think I'm going to keep those going because I think a lot of people appreciate that. The other streams that I'm going to be doing on top of what I'm doing now are going to be the watch-along streams that I do via the playback, and also my very special guest interviews that I plan to do as well too. You're going to see that content come out as well, and I'm not going to break the news on the surprises of who those potential guests are, but just to say, a lot of the guests that I'm going to be bringing on, either you heard about them before, you read about them, you've read their work, or you've heard about me talking about them and covering their articles today. Either way, a lot of good things coming. So definitely subscribe to the channel, smash the like button, join as a member if you'd like to. So that way you can have access to all the giveaways that we're doing on a month-to-month basis. And I can't wait for you guys to see all the new content that's coming forward very soon. One last comment, then I'm going to go see my mom for my birthday, okay, guys? So we're going to make this comment count, okay? Kerwin Nixon, because I haven't seen him come to the live show today. So let's do that. Where are you at, Kerwin? Where'd he go? I see you there, but I don't. Let's see. Nope. All right. I lost that comment. I can't see it. Don't know where it went. Oh, there it goes. Kerwin, I got you, Kerwin. All right. So Kerwin, even though you guys can't see it on the screen here, Kerwin Nixon asked me this comment. By how injury prone OG is at this point in time, I don't want to see that dude nowhere near pounding with bigs at the 5 spot only. Maybe at the 4 if teams go small ball only. I appreciate that, Kerwin. Thank you so much for the comment. That's going to be our last comment of the show today. So I do appreciate that. And I want to break that down a little bit so I can give some context to it. I also don't want to see OG Anunoby playing against bigger 5s because the reason, or at least one of the factors, why the Knicks were so injury riddled last year was because we played players out of position. And I know that. And I don't want to continue to play players out of position. It doesn't make sense. I want the Knicks to make sure they play everybody at their right position, at the right amount of minutes, as best as possible. If the Knicks want to utilize it, an OG Anunoby, Julius Randle, 4-5 switch off in terms of protecting the center position on a couple of minutes each and every night, I won't have a problem with that as long as there's a reason for it. But I also share your concerns as well, too. If you play players like that, you could risk, if you play players like that, you can risk re-injuring OG Anunoby in a significant way. And if OG Anunoby goes down with significant injury, it could be lights out for the Knicks and this season. Because I've said it before and I'll say it again. Regardless of all the key players we have on this team, OG Anunoby is at the top of the list because of his defense, because of the way he plays on offense as well too, and the way he plays the passing lanes. He runs the floor very well, and I love the level of defense that he gives this team. if the defense that OG Anunoby was giving us last year was here, and he wasn't really fully integrated, and he didn't really understand his role fully, and he was dealing with injuries. Now, if he's coming back to this season fully healthy, his level of defense is going to be off of the charts. And as long as he's fully healthy, I don't mind him guarding those bigger fives because he showed he can guard those bigger fives at any point in time. If he can do it against Joel Embiid, regardless of if he can do it against Joel Embiid, regardless if Joel Embiid was not fully healthy during that series, I think he can do it against most bigs in the NBA. Because let's not forget, even though Embiid was not fully healthy, he was still a force down low. He was still doing everything he needed to do. And he was still a problem for New York. He was still one of the series leaders in terms of scoring and rebounding on that team. It's not like he wasn't doing anything when he was part of the team. So that series was important. But I think that series also showcased and showed Tom Thibodeau, OG Anunoby, and even Knicks fans that paid attention that OG can play the center position from time to time. And I think Randle will play center position on offense because the bully ball makes sense for him doing that as well too. OG Anunoby on offense at the center position, that doesn't really make more sense. I don't want OG banging down low to get a bucket because that's not really his game. Whose game is that though? Bully ball Randle. That's why you make the switch up and you make the move. But very good comment there. I really appreciated Kerwin. And I think this season with the Knicks, with Julius Randle, with OG Anunoby, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, Mitchell Robinson, we have the best starting five we've had in ages. OG Anunoby is going to play a significant role. The Knicks are not going to play small ball unless they're forced to. Tom Thibodeau won't do that. But if they're forced to, then yeah, you'll see OG Anunoby play some minutes there. But unless that happens, OG is going to do exactly what he's doing for the Knicks, and that's having the best impact on both ends of the floor when he's out there. OG is one of the best players in terms of coaching, probably, because you never probably have to coach him a lot. He knows his role. He knows what he does well, what he doesn't do well, and he knows after playing a certain amount of games for a coach, what that coach wants them to do. And that's why I appreciate that. But shout out to the chat. Shout out to everybody who joined the stream today. I really do appreciate everybody who wished me a happy birthday, gave me a super chat, showed some type of love, whether it was on social media, whether it was on the YouTube comments and other videos, whether it's here in this chat. It hasn't gone unnoticed, and I really do appreciate it. Thank you guys so much. That really is going to do it for the end of the show. I'm about to go see my mama, give her a hug, a kiss, spend some time with her, get myself a cut if I have some time, and then go get myself some dinner, try to relax and enjoy life. Time and time again, we see it on the news every single day. Not enough people enjoy their life. Enjoy those small moments. Enjoy the moments that matter the most to them. I don't want to be part of that. I don't want to be part of that situation. I don't want to be one of those players. I want to be somebody that you can count on each and every single time to enjoy any moments that's there for me. And that's why tonight, for my birthday, that's exactly what I'm going to do. I hope you guys do the same thing. I hope you guys enjoy your weekends, your time, and any time that you spend with your loved ones, significant others, family, and things like that. Thank you for joining the live stream. That's going to do it for this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, go ahead and smash that like button, leave a comment below. And of course, guys, please subscribe to the channel. Until next time, Knicks fans. Peace. And shout out to each and every single one of you for joining me today on today's live. I really do appreciate it. Again, peace and love. I'm out of here, Knicks fans. See you later.